everybody. How you doing? What's going on? What day is it today? Today's Tuesday. It is. It's 10 a.m. Tuesday. Well, it's 6 minutes after. I'm late, but I'm here. I had to make coffee and I had to put it into a what is this? A Hello Kitty mug? Yeah, I'm using a Hello Kitty mug. I think it's a decapitated Hello Kitty because the decal is peeling off, but it was clean and it was closest and it was big. I like big mugs and I cannot lie. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And if you want to know stuff and things, then say hey. Ask some questions. I'm here for you. This is going to go for about an hour. That's how this rolls, how I roll. That's what's going to go on. And at the end of the hour, we'll have some dad jokes, and we'll see where we go. What do we got? We got Brandon who says, "Good morning, Sean and all from Aston Martin, Orlando. Checking out my friend's Valhalla, which is being delivered. Hope you have an awesome day." That sounds good. Oh, there's so much we got to talk about, Brandon. But that sounds like a cool ride without question. Paul, what's going on, brother? He says, "Good morning, Sean." Now, for those who are on TikTok, I'm putting things up on screen for the other platforms, and you can't see them. And I apologize that you were left out in the cold, but we can see them. What's I'll come over and see what's going on. It's the comments I saw Andy and finding is it Finding Chemo? Who says, "I like your cut, G." Is that my haircut or my beard cut? Because I trimmed the beard. It's a new look. But we'll come back to TikTok in just a second. But just a wave to Amelia and Ray Miller. We got Pretty Void who says, "I hope you're doing well. Hey, by the way, I wanted to ask if I can make some arts for your channel. I don't mind at all." And Pretty Void just followed. So thanks for the follow. That's on Twitch. And by all means, you can get me at Ask a Traffic Cop at Gmail or voiceovercop at Gmail. Both work. And let's see here. We got good morning from Julie Massey. How you doing, Julie? We got Akila Draconis, who is in and says, "Greetings and salutations from Maddock." It sounds so cool. Maddock is a great name. And it sounds like Murdoch, which makes me think of A-Team, and that's how my brain functions. So that's a thing. We just to acknowledge Raven, and then Anthony, and we've got Sylvia, Shifty Norm, John Mack, B Dabs to Kinnan, and the Honorable Mayor. I wonder for which town or jurisdiction you are the Honorable Mayor. Oh, sorry, the Honorable Mayor McCheese. That is the full name. Okay. That Monte Cristo, Derek and Angela Russell, BB Parjon, and Honorable Mayor McCheese wants to know if I've ever written a ticket and not sign it. Do you mean like I issued a ticket with the express intention of not filing it because I created an error for it intentionally? No, I've never done that intentionally. I'm sure it's possible I've done it unintentionally, but when they brought in the magic of electronic tickets, which that happened towards the well, I wouldn't even say the end of my career, but at some point in my career, they went from paper tickets to electronic tickets and took away the ability to write paper tickets. I actually preferred them for a long, long time. And yeah, you don't have to sign them. You just press print and they're done. Magic. They are pure magic. Okay, put some stuff on this screen. Give you a second. If you're watching and you don't know who I am or what I do, I used to be a cop, and now I do other stuff. But in the meantime, on my copious amounts of extra time, which I don't actually have, I try and answer your traffic and police questions as often as possible. At the moment, that's Tuesdays at 10 a.m. and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. The goal is to help you know stuff and things so you don't get in trouble breaking the law. So if you've got questions about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff, I'm your guy. Just feel free to drop a question in the question box. That's the comment section. Now we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Kick, Twitch, YouTube. What else? We're even on Rumble, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you are. That's where we are. So if you got questions, by all means, drop them in there. Now, at the same time, I also have some platforms that may or may not be working properly. LinkedIn historically did work. When you left a comment on the LinkedIn live stream, we got them and saw them. But I've been seeing a few times where I see the message show up after the show, and I totally didn't see it. If you're watching on TikTok, please tap the screen till your fingers go numb. It really helps bring more people to the party. And more people to the party means that more people see the content and ask questions. So that's kind of important. If we don't have interesting questions, we won't know that you want to know stuff. And they might ask a question that you didn't even think of. So if you know someone who shouldn't be driving because they suck at it, or there's somebody who is a great driver, I've been told that regardless of how long they've been driving, there are things that are left unknown and need to be learned. So it's a thing. And to my friends at the Toronto Police, what's going on? Welcome to the live stream. Just something I used to do with and haven't done in a while because of technology changes, and I mean that in that technology is being screwing up. I used to stream all on my laptop, but now I have a separate Mac Mini that I use for streaming, and that was using software. It was not working out well, and I stopped going on to look at what job postings were currently available. Now I'm trying to bring that back. So we will do a segment. If you're interested in becoming a police officer, special constable, parking officer, civilian with a service, we're going to look at the recruiting efforts of the Toronto Police Service and see if we can't help you find something that works for you. Because I like the Toronto Police and I want to help them recruit good people. And you know what? I have helped them recruit good people. And some were helped to go to Peel Regional Police, and some have told me that they went to York Regional Police, and one went to Edmonton. Yeah. But I love getting the heads up and the updates that, when people reach out to me and say, I'm trying to become a police officer, what would you do? How would you suggest I go about doing it? Is there anything you could, if I can give you something that helps you, great. And if this, live stream helps motivate you to write tickets as a copper, even better. A lot of people don't realize the value that police that do traffic stops bring to the table. Traffic safety is more than just driving safely. It's about enforcing rules and meeting new people. And sometimes those people get arrested for other things. Just saying. Don't skip the traffic stuff. Yeah. Coffee. That's the first sip of coffee. You witnessed it. Pointless Fury says kind of wrong. Which is kind of wrong? Do you think it's kind of wrong that issuing tickets for people breaking the law is you think that's wrong? Or do you think that when we catch people who break the law, because they break one law, they tend to break other laws, we tend to find them with guns and drugs and other stuff and warrants, and it's a gateway to bigger charges. So the bad folk tend not to follow any laws. That's been my experience. And that's why they get caught, because, it's kind of thing. So if Pointless Fury wants to give me more info on their kind of wrong assessment of my take, by all means, change my mind. Funny comment, which I won't repeat, but it is funny. Kyle says, I want to join Halton Regional Police. Went on a night shift ride along. I have a few things to share. Oh, sorry. Is it Kyle or Kylie? Because I can't see the picture, but because it's so far away, I have no idea. Either way, I don't want to mispronounce. So tell me what you want to share, by all means. And in the meantime, I'm going to have a quick scan over here and see what Pretty Void was saying. Can you drop down your Discord or Instagram in chat? Instagram is VoiceOver Cop, and I'm VoiceOver Cop on all platforms, so you can get me anywhere. I don't really use Discord, although I have an account. It should also be VoiceOver Cop as far as I can recall, but I don't really use it. We have Unchanged. What? Interesting. Not sure what your thing, but one of those. Yeah, not sure what you're sending me there, but I'll make a note. And then Gwyn says, "Hey, I have to ask something. Hey, it's important. If you've asked or stated many things. By all means, Gwyn, ask. That's kind of how it works. Just ask. Okay. Oh, Pointless Fury says, guess what? I've been pulled over because the driver was black. So, are you sure, or do you assume? Is it possible they were pulled over because they were doing something wrong in terms of driving? Try pulling someone over because they're black is inappropriate. It's also illegal. It's a racist thing. You can't just identify and target someone based on their race. That would be inappropriate, wrong, and shouldn't be done. However, if they happened to be black and they were pulled over for a vehicle stop that was legitimate, that is not being pulled over by black. That's being pulled over for being a bad or dangerous or something wrong with the vehicle driver. Totally different thing. And I totally appreciate that your perspective may be that you thought that the driver was pulled over because of their race, but I highly doubt that that was actually the fact. And I wasn't there. Maybe it was. And if so, that's totally wrong. But could it also be bias on your part, believing something based on your circumstances and your experiences that painted that experience with a negative light? I don't know. I wasn't there. In any case, I've heard a lot of people who believe that they're targeted by police, and generally speaking, it's not the case. I've pulled people over in bad neighborhoods, really bad neighborhoods. I've pulled over people who happen to be black. I didn't know that when I pulled them over. I also pulled people over from all walks of life because they broke the law. They had a defect with their vehicle, and in some cases were criminals. But it wasn't because of their race that they got pulled over. They got pulled over because they did something that caught my attention on the outside of the vehicle. And that was it. Anyway, moving on. iLurk1337 says cops are just an arm of state power that protects property and order before people. Well, you have some bias, and that's okay. I don't know what your background is, but I disagree with your statement. Cops are just people who want to help other people. Again, perspective is everything. If you are someone who believes what you say for whatever experience you had, that's a you. But I can't fix that for you. What I would suggest is, try and see it from other perspectives. Okay. We got much respect for the police. I want to add first and foremost. That's from well, it's Kyle. Is that Kylie or is it Kyle? I'm not. I need phonetics. I want to make sure I can't see the logo. I don't know hints. Okay. Droner Wayne says morning, Sean, and we have and then we have Nicholas Rizzi says why do I not have the right to? Here we go. Why do I not have the right to see for the speed radar to prove I was speeding? When a cop says no, well, it makes it look like you don't have evidence. I was speeding and you're just trying to fill a quota that y'all say doesn't exist. Nicholas Rizzi, who happens to be a comedian and a friend of mine, is always a poop disturber, but it's good. I love it. That's a great question. Why don't the police have to show you the speed radar device or laser speed measurement device or the speed measurement device, regardless of what technology is being used? Because they don't. In many cases, it's unsafe to have you get out of the car, walk down the road on the highway, and come look into our vehicle where it's fixed and mounted. If I had it on my person, I have no reason not to show it to you. However, what if I took 5 readings and the last one that locked in said you were doing 30 because you were slowing down, but I caught you at 115? The fact is, the machine is not required for evidence. My statements as to my observations is just like if I was arresting you for doing something that I witnessed is my evidence. It's my statement of fact that's provided in chief as testimony in court. You can challenge it, and you may have supporting or evidence that contradicts. But at the end of the day, I make a statement. I make an allegation. A traffic ticket is an allegation. I said you were speeding. You say you weren't. We have a discussion in court. But that's the deal. Yeah. But I've always shown it if I had it in front of me to show. And I tend to, or used to, lock in at the speed. I didn't need to take 5 more readings. If I got you at 110 in a 60, I didn't press it again. But there is a timeout section. It will time out eventually and power down. So it would have to be, pretty quick to show you. But, I used to wear a sling and carry it with me. And it was no big deal. The reason I wore a sling with it, I used a rifle sling. It was a great addition because I never left mine on the roof of a car and ran over it, which some of my friends have possibly maybe done. Okay. Let's go back to people who don't like the police because that seems to be the theme on TikTok today. Ace Dash says, I was assaulted and threatened to be taken to jail over not having insurance on a motorcycle. That was what it was? Or was it somehow the conversation? And I wasn't there, not judging, but it's possible that there was a discussion that was not, a cooperative one. Because I'm trying to see where would assaulting somebody or getting into a physical altercation over insurance take place. So if you ran from the police and they were arresting you and there was a resist kind of situation, maybe it got physical. Was that assault or did you run? If you didn't run and you were just being polite as Peach, and you didn't have insurance, and for that they punched you, that is illegal, that is unlawful and not appropriate, and that there should be a complaint made. Like, it really depends on the situation. I imagine in today's day and age that would be caught on camera, and if you had been assaulted for doing nothing wrong other than having no insurance, I would argue that you might have a complaint and you should file that complaint because that's inappropriate for you to be assaulted. We're allowed to use force as police. We're not allowed to use excessive or unlawful force. We're responsible criminally for that force if it was not justified. Oh, it says AC Dash says I was beaten by 7 officers for showing them ID on my phone. And this allegation is that 7 people from the Hamilton police did it. You were then arrested and thrown in a car and called a goof just for them to release me. There's got to be more to that story. 7 officers beating you up because you gave them identification by way of telephone. Not giving them identification might be an arrest until we can identify you. Might be a ticket for failing to identify. But 7 people piling on you for not having. There's something wrong with your story. It may be in your telling. It may have been more to it. Because I'm going to assume if that actually happened, there's way more to it. I don't. I'm going to call you out and say there was more to it because I don't buy the story as told. Now, I could be totally wrong, but I don't think 7 police officers jump on you and beat you up for not having an insurance card or a driver's license on you. There's got to be more. Okay. Let's see. What is this? iLurk says, right, but a police officer who may be racist would just move the goalpost. Oh, so this is the person who earlier said that his friend was pulled over for being black. Listen, I'm not going to defend racist people because there are racist people who are doctors, lawyers, accountants, and even cops. But we try and weed them out. We go to great lengths to avoid hiring bad actors. And sometimes they get through because they're not honest about who they are and what they stand for. So if they have biased, which everyone does to some degree, everyone's biased in some way, shape, or form. But if that bias is hate or motivating action, it's inappropriate. And I say that because everyone's is getting down a rabbit hole of things. But yeah, everyone has a little bit. People know they know and they don't know. And people who don't know, I'm not doing a good job of explaining what I'm thinking. However, if it was truly a racist motivation, it's inappropriate. You should complain. But Brandon says 7 officers beating a person doesn't seem right. I know a lot of cops. Well, I know a lot of cops too. I've never heard of any situation like that. But listen, there was stuff that happened in other countries that triggered a lot of stuff that may have been racist motivated, may not have been. I wasn't there. Thanks for the follow for whoever followed. I just saw you pop up and that chirp in my ear said that somebody followed. And it's Aiden sent roses and a gift. Thank you very much. Any gifts go to the Canadian Organization for Better Traffic Education, Safety and Education, BTSE, Better Traffic Safety Education. Yes. BTSE.ca is the website. By the way, I meant to do this earlier and didn't. Shout out to Diamond and Diamond. They are sponsoring the show. They sponsor the show and have been for months and months since the organization started doing what we're doing, which is trying to make traffic safety education more accessible and having someone who can just talk to you, answering your questions. They believe in traffic safety. They want to keep you safer. They happen to also be the largest personal injury law firm in Canada. So if you need something, they're probably good people to call. They have offices across Canada. Okay. What's this? I don't understand. It was Pointless Fury, not iLurk. Okay. I was responding to iLurk, assuming that. So it was Pointless Fury who said that he was pulled over because the driver was black, and then he went on to say that he was the only sober one. So this is getting too deep into the weeds. So you're saying he was driving because he was sober, so there was a night of drinking. So maybe your perspective as to what happened was blurred. Not his, I'm saying yours. You were not sober at the time. Okay, OV Police says, "Hey, Sean, did you hear about the guy that does Megatron passed away? You got the best shot." Megatron? Wait, the guy who does Megatron or the guy who does the voice for Optimus Prime? Either way, that's very sad. Was it the same guy who did both? No, I'm pretty sure it was two different guys, but that's very sad. OV Police is talking about the fact that I was dabbling with doing the whole Optimus Prime voice. Did a couple of videos that were fun, and actually, I was talking to on TikTok the guy who does a lot of voiceovers for the cartoons, and specifically does Optimus Prime. I think in games, but the whole concept of Autobots roll out was just a cool thing that I was say to my kids. It's because why not? And then I did one video with not an undercover cop who sadly is not currently producing content on the platform, but he was one of my favorite creators, and I collabed with him as Optimus Prime in a video he put up. I should share that. Let's see here. We're gonna mute this individual because we don't need to hear from that person. Maybe we'll even ban them, block them. Yeah, we'll block them. Okay. Steve 530 says power corrupts. Well, how does incredible monitoring impact that power? Considering police have incredible oversight, not only civilian but internally, cameras and tracking. Yeah, I don't think you're accurate. I would say there are corrupt police. We've seen allegations of corruption recently in Ontario. However, I think the vast majority are the best people who are putting their lives on the line every day to protect the community. Okay. Nicholas Rizzi, who says, "Now that I have your attention," says, "What are the laws on transporting plutonium? Because it's been weeks since I first asked. Are there laws? Where are your nuclear physics friends? You said you make it a TikTok. I'm still waiting." Yes, he asked me about transporting plutonium. We're both fans of Back to the Future and really want to know. But at the same time, I don't have answers to that. I do have a friend who used to be a tactical officer at a nuclear plant, and maybe I need to reach out to him and find out what he knows about transporting plutonium because yeah. Melody the mechanic is in the chat, says, "What I miss, safety inspection got me busy." Good to have you. It's we were talking about I think racism was the theme, and allegations that cops are racist, and that the corruption that police sorry the power that police have leads to corruption. Yeah. Ace Dash. What was the context of Ace? Oh, okay. Ace says that they were okay. This is the person that said that they had a 7-officer pylon assaulting him for providing his identification by way of telephone. He plans to sue, or they plan to sue, the Hamilton police. And I don't see anything else. Oh, they ripped the phone out of his hands and gave him a DM. Oh, give me a DM and I'll send you. You can DM me by all means. I'm an open inbox. You can happily you can send me. It's very interesting. It's not something I can do anything about, but if you want to tell me your story, I'm happy to hear. Let's see here. Honey Dev Launch says they don't care and they will ruin you. I don't think so. I don't know. He's telling him not to sue. I think that if you have a legitimate claim, by all means sue. Listen. As a former police officer, and while I was a police officer, and if I ever get back into policing, I will tell you the same thing, because the truth is what I try and stick with here. It's not about teams. It's about right and wrong. If you're doing the right thing, you got nothing to worry about, whether you're a civilian or a police officer or anyone. If you do the right thing for the right reasons, you're okay. If you do the wrong thing, if you break the laws or if you're motivated by personal gain and things like that, you are in the wrong. And you should be held accountable when you break the law. It doesn't matter who you are. So it's Aiden sending gifts all like crazy, and Skoden Stodas, thanks very much as well for the gift. Any money raised goes to the not-for-profit Better Traffic. Okay. Good Game Golf says instantly defends the cop, maybe a bully, and file the complaint. You all work together. Okay. So, first of all, I don't instantly defend anybody. I said that the story sounded fishy because I think it does sound fishy. And I think that reasonable people in the chat would agree with me that it sounds fishy. But that doesn't mean that it's not accurate. It just sounds fishy. It could be exactly it. And then I would encourage you to complain. Now, if what it was, that you can't file, well, you don't complain to another peer of the officer. You apply and go to an independent organization that is the oversight, civilian oversight of police. You complain there. You can go to a sergeant and complain, but they'll just refer you to that organization. It's Aiden with an actual traffic question because my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who specialized in traffic, and I answer traffic and police questions. That's really the goal here, but I talk about anything. If you forgot to signal at a light for a left turn, but you are in the left only, could you get a ticket? Yes. Not signaling, but being in the left turn lane does not meet the requirement under law for signaling your intention to change direction. So if your movement, the movement of your vehicle could impact anyone, including a pedestrian, cyclist, driver, then you're required to signal. Now, the argument is, well, what if no one's around? If no one's around, there's no one to write you a ticket. So you would be okay. Technically, if the movement wouldn't affect anybody else, a signal could be optional. However, it's a good habit to always signal, and then you don't forget because it's a habit. If you make it conditional, like, oh, there's somebody else on the road, I should signal, that's where biggest mistakes happen. Piper, gotcha. Sean says, and it's Sean spelt the wrong way, but we love you anyway. What is the typical procedure if you find a radar detector in Ontario? By the way, Sean, I spell mine Sean as on the screen, and Sean is Shawn. And I know Shaune is a whole bunch. Mind you, Sean spelled your way doesn't get you CN, which I get all the time. It's not annoying at all. But anyway. So the typical procedure, if you find a radar detector, well, you would seize a radar detector in Ontario because they're not lawful to possess. The only way to transport them legally is sealed from the manufacturer out of the province, and that is not in your possession, but in a shipping container or situation from the manufacturer to their consignee, I think is the terminology. In any case, my headphone wires caught on something. Stand by, and everything fell down. And I got it. I had my magic arm in the way. These are, by the way, the best things in sliced bread. These are Manfrotto magic arms. I got this one on Marketplace. Slightly used. Needed to be dismantled and oiled, but man, oh man, it's an amazing device. I just dropped it. Hopefully it didn't break anything. Okay. Let's see here. So in terms of procedure, it's seizing it, documenting it, and so on. But I can't cite a individual procedure by a police service, but if you look at the act, if you look at the Highway Traffic Act, you will see that it has the authority to seize and a search and seizure under the authority of the Highway Traffic Act based on the suspicion that you have one, not even that you see it. Seizing it is authority under the act, but searching is afforded by the act if you suspect. People lose their minds when they hear that. If you're watching on TikTok, please tap the screen until your fingers go numb. We've got 3.2 thousand likes, and the more likes, well, it has the potential of bringing more people to the party, which means more stuff and things to talk about. Okay, we got Pointless' Fury says, regardless, ICE did everything more. ICE. I think you're in the United States. I am not in the United States. I've been meaning to, and I 1 second, you know, I could do this right now. Can I do this right now? Can I add a flag? I've been meaning to do this because there's been so many discussions about, hang on, I'm looking for graphics. This is in my downloads folder. Where is it? No. Come on. Where, oh, where could it be? People think that I'm American. I'm not. Pictures. Did I put it in pictures? Hey, look at this. I did. Here we go. Did it work? I did not. I don't want it there. But it did work. Can I make it smaller? It's not the one I wanted, but I'll take it. for the people on TikTok. There's my Canadian flag. How you like me now? Uh, yeah, people think that that I'm American, and then we get into these conversations about ICE, and I'm like, but I'm not American. Hang on a second. I want to make it smaller. I gotta make it. Okay, I gotta bring it back up front. Stand by. This is important technology that's taking place here. Can I do it? Can I do it? Where's the little live editing? Why can't I get? Oh, there we go. Just needs to be subtle. Little subtle flag. Okay. You good? I think we're good. All right. Now, we were talking about ice. We don't have ice here, so I can move on. A lot of people polarized about that stuff. So it's really not traffic related and well outside of my jurisdiction of being a Canadian. So we'll move on. Okay. Sliding down. What's the law on e-scooters? This we can talk about. Totally important. E-scooters and e-kick scooters, if we're talking about those stand-up skateboardy instead of a skateboard trucks that have two wheels on each truck, we're talking about a single small diameter wheel front and a small one on the back, connected by way of a deck. You stand on it. You have a triple tree with a long post and a handlebar. Those are not legal in the city of Toronto. There is a pilot project that permits them to be used in the province of Ontario in jurisdictions that opted in and said it was okay. York Region is one of those jurisdictions. You can use them lawfully. They have rental companies here that rent them. It's a mess. They're all over lawns everywhere, but they're allowed. They require you to be 16. Has that changed? I believe it's 16 to operate them. No more than 500 watts of power, a top speed of 24 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. No seats are permitted on them, otherwise they become motorcycles, and no cargo. I have seen people transporting mattresses, or at least videos of it. I've never seen it in person. So that's the story. Oh, thank God. It's Aiden says Peter Cullen of who does the voice for Optimus Prime is still alive. Thank you for clarifying who passed away and who has not. If you forget, we talked about that. Pointless Fury says doesn't agree with anything I say. That's okay. Tim Wooston, how's it going, man? Says our cops are tops. That was actually a slogan for a long time. Toronto cops are tops, and I agree with you. And even with the allegations that are floating around, I think the vast majority of cops everywhere are awesome. And it's not to show love to one police service or another. Those who go out and protect others whilst putting their lives in harm's way are amazing. Apparently Peter Cullen and Frank Welker are both still alive. That's from Nicholas Rizzi. That's also good news. I'm glad that you have verified this information and shared it with the world. However, it was for a moment very scary to think that voices of our cartoons and mixed animation and live action movies could possibly ever go away. Too many famous people that I like have passed away. I'll come back to Nicholas Rizzi. By the way, if you have any dad jokes and you're watching, share them with us. Pointless Fury says I'm either skipping or jumping. No, I got to scroll back because when TikTok reloads, things do move around. And depending on if I notice it, I try and go back. Okay. Oh, off-road Accord, yes. He's talking about the propaganda machine. Okay. Melody says, sounds like I missed a great fiction novel. It's very nice. I haven't blocked Pointless Fury, but they're alleging that I have. I should, but I don't. I haven't. But we have moderators who may choose to based on how annoying you become. Okay. Would eating become sorry, let me try it again. It's from Sandro, who wants to know if eating would be considered distracted driving. No. Not in Ontario. In Alberta, yes, because their distracted driving laws are totally different. But in Ontario, distracted driving is specifically, well, it's one of three charges. The first charge option is going to be um, handheld electronic device, or handheld communication device is the one most people are familiar with. Handheld entertainment device. So if you're playing with your portable TV or um, iPod or video game console, anything that would be considered entertainment, that's that charge. If you are using your cell phone or communication device, that's that charge. And then there's screen visible to driver. So if your passenger is using their device and you're watching them do something on it, that is still a distracted driving charge, which comes with a $615 fine. On the first conviction, 3 demerit points and a 3-day suspension, and it sucks. So don't do it. Don't do the thing that causes the thing to get the thing, because that would suck. Okay. Off-road Accords having too much fun. Okay. Rico, if I have a dealer plate and cannot open the back, is having it on the front allowed? No, you can't display your dealer plate on the front. It has to be displayed on the back in accordance with the regulation. You can either screw it into the mount, or you can hang it on the windshield wiper on the back. You have to affix it. Some people use magnetic uh, devices for connecting it, but I've never heard of any permission to hang it elsewhere. So we're going to stick with back, not front. Zachary Hill says, Sean, I haven't seen you in a couple of years. Where have you been, Zachary? I've been here. I've continued to make content for the last year and a half, but only on this channel. So if it didn't get into your FYP, we got to blame TikTok. But I'm glad you found me. Feel free to follow. We will catch you here. I go live on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Tuesdays at 10, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. And I am trying to create more content, but I have been very busy with other projects. This is something I do because I want to help, whereas I do things in my post policing career that actually consist of work and sitting in front of a computer for long periods of time, not editing video for myself, but for creating other stuff. We're doing some really cool stuff, and hopefully, yeah, I can't talk about it, but it's good stuff. Okay. X followed the live creator. Well, thank you for following the live. X says, best advice for joining OPP or law enforcement if you have 2 speeding tickets and a 50-50 accident. So I know for Toronto Police Service, and I'm assuming it's the same standard across all police services in the provinces, you can't apply or you're not eligible for a job if you have more than 6 demerit points. But a driving history is what's being looked at, because they're going to look at your driving history from day one. And they're going to look at whether you've changed your behavior or if this is just par for the course. So if those 2 speeding tickets were last week, and that a collision may have had speed related, information or be caused by speed, well, it's not going to be a good look. It could hurt your chances of applying. But if those speeding tickets were dated, and you said, well, I took those speeding tickets, I got them because I was doing the wrong thing, and since then I've done the right thing. I learned from my mistakes. And yeah, I had a collision. I've had collisions. It's part of life. It's avoidable, but when you do the wrong thing, I talk as a traffic safety person saying that you can avoid every collision. Just don't drive in such a way that puts you at risk, and pay attention and slow down and if you do everything right, you shouldn't be in a collision. However, I've been in collisions where the other person did something wrong. It was unavoidable from my perspective, but they caused it. It would have been avoidable had they done the right thing. Anyway, it doesn't take you out of the game. You just need to be able to articulate the fact that you've learned from those experiences, or they're old and nothing recent. But X, tell me more about when was the last time you got a collision or a ticket, or yeah, tell me your story. What is this? Hole up more? I don't know what Pointless Fury is talking about. Sean SHAWN says my name is misspelled. Okay. We got here. Oh, I got to scroll. It moved, it jumped, or it was repeated. Elmo B. Pimpin, which is a fantastic name, asks the following. Did you ever pull someone over for going 1 kilometer over the limit? If not, what was the lowest? Never one. Never one. Generally speaking, my thresholds were simple. I aimed for 25% over the limit. That was my general threshold for what I was looking for in terms of a quality ticket. That's not to say I wouldn't write lower. If you were in a 40, so let me further explain. 25% over the limit in a 60 is 15. I'd pull you over for 10 and I'd likely give you a warning. At 15, I'd write you a ticket, generally speaking. That's not to say always the case. Now, if you were in a 30 zone and you were doing 10 over, you'd get a ticket because the percentage was higher, right? The percentage over. Uh, Jamie Burnett says, take it from the emoji. Out of context. Don't know what you're talking about. Maybe it would have made sense before, but I'm not picking up what you're putting down. Sean is Canada. That's funny. I'm kind of digging the little flag. It's for the people watching on widescreen. They're like, what? Why is it floating there? If you're watching widescreen, because we're currently sending a wide format picture to YouTube, but a vertical to actually we're sending both to YouTube. But there's a widescreen and a vertical. What you see on TikTok is only but one. What's this? Bottom right. I don't see the emoji. My view is different than your view, unfortunately, because you're in app and I'm in the studio. Pointless Fury says I have a tendency of defending those people. You're saying police? I defend everybody. Yeah, I tend to be pretty even keeled. I do defend police as a whole because the average police officer is doing the right thing for the right reasons, helping people helping people, good people, that is, helping good people. And helping bad. Actually, I will say the police are helping all people, not judging whether they're good or bad. But since I said good people, I want to clarify. Now, when you talk about the bad people, bad cops, bad doctors, bad lawyers, people who are involved in criminal activity are labeled with bad, right? Because we're very black and white, good and bad. So, yeah, I don't defend people who are involved in criminal activity who hurt others. That's not where I'm at. So if you're suggesting I have a tendency of defending people who are doing the wrong thing, you would be inaccurate. Remedy wants to know if someone driving while watching TikTok, how much is the fine? If someone is driving while watching TikTok, how much is the fine? In Ontario, Canada, and I have this nice, the virtual flag to say Canada. I don't have an Ontario flag. Maybe I need to add an Ontario flag. $615, and there's demerit points and a suspension. And it's not something you want to do. It is not a fun ticket. It also will create a skyrocketing insurance increase. Skyrocketing. Peel. I got to go back. Oh, got it. Okay. Let's see. We talked about. Oh, interesting. Okay. We're going to make an adjustment because apparently the Canadian flag is hard to see in its current location. And actually, you're very right. I just looked down at my phone where I'm also monitoring. And based on the way it crops, stand by. Okay. Now I should be able to grab. No, hang on. Okay. I grab this. Have to wait for the delay. Maybe this works better. No. Lower. Too low. It's a slight delay. Okay, hang on. Live editing. That's what's happening here. It is live. Okay, and then I could also, since I noticed it, I can also take this traffic cop logo. Can I adjust it? I don't want to touch. I'm not trying to move myself. As we pause for, I disappeared myself. Because okay, there we go. Maybe this is better. Certainly going to be better on my. Yes. Okay. I think this is better. Let me know if this is approved, the relocation of said flag, my flag. I'm very proud of my flag. I used to love having it on my uniform. You know, it's silly, or it may sound silly, but it really is a big deal. Get out. Brandon says he's a honorary member of both the NYPD and FDNY. Awesome. Now, does that create internal conflict? Because we always hear of stories, uh, always have stories of, uh, those the rivalry between them. Okay. Let me come back here. Rico, we talked about Rico stuff. Talked about joining the OPP. I scrolled back too far. Okay, yes, I see the bottom. Okay. Uh Peeled. Okay, I think we're back up to the right number. FYI, that's where we are. Okay. If I have a deal, we talked about that. Okay. Jedi Governor. All the cops. He says Jedi Governor and then follows up with all the cops are corrupt. Anyone who uses all statements can't be taken seriously. Okay. Sonic grade CTR wants to know if running water methanol injection in a car is illegal, cooling slash racing purposes. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't. I'm going to assume it's probably not okay, but I don't know that. I'm just going to go. If you have to ask, it's probably something that's non-standard, and you're saying for racing purposes. On the track, it's probably fine, but I know somebody I can ask for that. If you want to send me a DM, I'll reach out to Brian Max, or you can just go onto his channel. It's at Brian Max, BrianMakse. I think he's about 100,000 followers now on YouTube, and he's the car guy, and he's a good friend of mine. So I forward my questions of this nature to him from the perspective of what the heck is he talking about before I then research from the legal perspective to see if it's legal. Because I don't know what a water methanol injection is. Is that just racing fuel? I don't know. I don't. I'm not a mechanic. Melody's here. Is that a Melody the mechanic is in the chat? Pit Lane Party wants to know if eating while driving is legal. So it's not specifically distracted driving, but it could be careless driving, which is, what the cell phone charge or distracted driving charge was born to deal with. The cell phone driving charge was born to be less than careless, and eating while driving could be careless, which is a serious charge. Doesn't do well for your insurance, but is oddly enough now a lesser consequence than the distracted driving charge because it's taken a life of its own. I know you weren't asking about distracted, but eating while driving could be dangerous. But it usually has to be not because you're simply eating, but because your driving has, well, been negatively impacted. That's what I was going to say. Ipsic Girl Crusher says special constable careers need to be more advertised. And good morning to you. I saw you log in earlier. I didn't scroll up and it wasn't automatically scrolling up. So I missed your comment until just now. Sorry, I wasn't trying to ignore you. That's on Instagram. Yes, I agree with you. Special constable jobs are not widely understood, even if they are advertised. But we're going to talk about employment in just a moment because I'm going to go onto the onto the Toronto Police site. Maybe we'll look at a couple of different services. Al Bagel Senior, or maybe Al Bagel might be the name, and C maybe Sir instead of Senior, but we're gonna wait. Says, how do you react when a driver behind you does not hold a proper distance? Well, first of all, I tend to be in the right because I'm going the speed limit, nobody else is. So if someone's riding my rear end, I start to slow down gradually, very gradually. I just let off the gas in itsy bitsy bit. And the goal is to reduce my speed so that person leaves me alone. And it tends to work very, very well. Ryan JJD says, can you make a right turn on a red if oncoming traffic has an advanced green arrow to make a left turn as long as you stay in the right lane? Here's the deal with right turns on red. If you have a red, you have to ensure that you can proceed and make your turn safely. If you're wrong and they have a green light, your priority is second to them. In every other circumstance, the left turning person doesn't have priority. In that particular circumstance, they have a green and you have a red. So you are subject to additional scrutiny. Now, if everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, because the driver making a left turn, if there's two lanes that you're turning into, they should go into the appropriate lane. If they go into your lane, that is an improper turn, at which point they would become liable. So it's more complicated. At very least, you could find yourself in a 50-50 situation. You might find yourself totally liable depending on the situation. Ipsa Girl Gold Crusher says, ice is in our freezer. Yes, that's the place. We're in Canada. Okay. Sorry. Hopefully they were still there to hear my response to those questions. All right. Scrolling back. Will insurance ever be regulated in Ontario? I think that it really is regulated. I mean, it is a business. They're allowed to charge what they think is appropriate, and you can choose to not go with that insurance company if you don't like the rates. They determine risk based on the factors you provide them, and based on those factors, they decide if they want to provide you insurance at all, and if so, what price. So, in terms of force them to take, someone who's high risk at lower prices, is that what you mean? Like, if you look at the provinces that have government run insurance, it sucks because you can't sue, you're not covered. Like, there's so many things. People think cheap insurance, oh yeah, well, you pay for what you get, or you get what you pay for. And even now there's changes to the insurance system. I don't know any better way to say it, that suggests that they're going to lower your prices, but they're going to take away things. You have to opt into all the things you were once covered for automatically. And if you don't opt in and you just think you're getting a great deal, well, suddenly you don't have the coverage you once had, and you're screwed when you get into a collision. So I would suggest reviewing your insurance and making sure you have all the coverage. Diamond and Diamond has a great video from Cam Woolley. Cam Woolley's a retired police sergeant who went to work for CB24 and is now the safety ambassador for Diamond and Diamond. And of course, they're sponsors of the show. They're awesome. But Cam has such a wealth of knowledge beyond, like, he's forgotten more than I'll ever know. And he talks about the changes to insurance, and it's quite an eye opener. Go check out their video if you haven't already seen it. Skoden Stoda says, if a co-accused had his conspiracy charge dropped, shouldn't the other guys too? Not necessarily. Listen, this is a co-accused may have had technical difficulties or a better lawyer, and their portion may go away. It doesn't mean automatically that both parties are not responsible. They just may have determined that one party wasn't capable. There was no reasonable chance of conviction or something to that effect. So I don't know. It's hard to say without knowing more. And even if I knew more, it's hard to say because I'm not a lawyer. Let's see here. Skoden goes on to say, just because I'm curious, if there's no more accused, how can there be a conspiracy? Oh, interesting. That's an interesting concept. So if conspiracy, you have to conspire with somebody. Can't you conspire? I don't know. Not a charge. That was my thing, but conspiracy to commit. Did you have to conspire with another person? That's very interesting. Well, maybe we'll see that. Maybe you'll find that particular, or maybe it's just a joke. Either way, I think it's interesting. Rico says, okay, thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Manraj says, a new RAV4, someone I know has no front plate mount and there aren't many mounts available. What should they do? So the first thing is, if there's the dealership, if they sold it to you in a jurisdiction that requires a front plate, they're obligated to give you a mounting place, whether that's like the Teslas that give you a peel and stick mountable mount, or use the tow hook adapter. But when you buy it from a dealership and you're buying it from a jurisdiction that sells to a two-plated province, yeah, they should be giving you a front plate. It's very interesting that you have one that didn't come with one. There is the drilling of holes, but I know nobody wants to do that. Okay, Tamaz K says, hello, does military experience really impact me for recruitment? It benefits you, I would say. I think there's a tremendous group of recruiters across this great country that respect those who have provided themselves for service in the military. So I would see it as very positive, assuming you weren't a plug in the military. If you were a plug in the military, then it could hurt you because you have a jacket that says you didn't do what you were supposed to do. But if you were someone who served with distinction, or at very least did a good job, I think it would help you. And thank you for your service. Okay. We have Snowman Chill says, "You could never catch me." Okay. Uh, Deb says, how do I get out of a no insurance charge? Is it possible to get the fine reduced? Well, the minimum fine is $5,000. The minimum fine is $5,000. So the only way to get out of a no insurance charge is support the fact that you had insurance, get proof. If you didn't have insurance, you screwed. So I don't know what to tell you. That's kind of the thing where you have an act that requires you to have insurance. There's not much. Like, the insurance companies record the calls. Like, I've charged many many people for not having that, and it doesn't generally go very well for the people who are guilty. So I don't have any advice for you, other than if you're innocent, bring the proof. All right, TPS. Hey, look at that! It automatically comes up as TPS careers. What else I want to show you? TPS, and then we can do a comparison. Peel Regional PRP. Is it PRP? Peel Police Recruiting. Oh, it's peelpolice.ca. I would have thought that oh, what a nice little video. That's awesome. Okay. We'll come back to that in a second. OPP. Careers. First thing that pops up. They're paying for ads. They're buying Google AdWords or whatnot. What's that? York Regional Police, YRP. Apparently, I'm on the wrong keyboard. I got two keyboards here. YRP. Okay, how to apply. I should have gone to careers. I'm gonna show you what I'm typing up in a second. Okay. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything that was here before we go off topic. Jamie Burnett says, when I said Peel, you were talking about scooters. Sorry, I didn't realize the delay. Oh, okay. Skoda approves the move of the flag. Cool. Okay. Do you know which city in Canada has the largest police service? I would assume it's in Ontario. The largest police service, if you're talking about municipal, it's the Toronto Police. If you're talking about provincial, the provincial police is we're the largest municipal, Toronto. Provincial police, I don't know if their numbers are bigger or not. Like if there's more Ontario police or not. They cover a largest area. RCMP, I think, is the largest police service, but they're federal. I'm going to ask my my investigative buddy to do some research for me. This is a perfect use of ChatGPT, by the way. What are police agencies? Including federal and based on sworn members. It doesn't matter how many civilians they have, the numbers get inflated because of non-uniform. You're talking about the largest. I'm assuming you want to know officers. RCMP, wow, approximately 19,000 officers. Wow. OPP, 6,100 to 6,400 approximately. Who's SQ? Oh, is that the provincial police in Quebec? Sécurité de Québec? They're provincial. 5,700. And then Toronto Police. So still holding true that the Toronto Police is the largest municipal police service in Canada. And they're fourth biggest in the country. I thought they were bigger than these, but I guess the other ones have grown since the conversation came up. And assuming this is accurate because it's ChatGPT, and you should always check your facts because you can't rely on AI for everything. It's great as a research tool that you can then independently verify afterwards. Now you go Montreal. Apparently, they're second in size to Toronto. Now Toronto allegedly, or according to the AI, has 4,870 sworn officers. I don't know that if that's correct or not. They say that that Montreal has 4,295. Peel Regional Police 2,200. Vancouver Police with 1,450. Cool. I like it. Thank you for creating that conversation. Okay. Jamie Burnett says the city of Toronto needs to do something with e-bike food delivery. I agree. We have a big problem with well, e-bike delivery isn't the issue. It's the unlawful e-bikes, the high speed e-bikes that are really motorcycles, the non helmet wearing ones, the folks who are riding on the sidewalk, taking away the space that are actually for pedestrians and those on mobility devices, which e-kick scooters are not and e-bike users are not. Don Amit says, why are there so many dirty cops in the Toronto and area? Are there so many? I mean, we just talked about having nearly 5,000 police officers. How many were alleged to have been involved? What percentage is that? It's very low. And these are allegations, not convictions. So we'll see what happens at the end of that investigation. However, the reality is there are good and there are bad. Now, 99%, I would say, are good. And occasionally you get some people who do the wrong thing. And I'm not defending those people. Okay. Yes. It's Aiden wants to know if I flipped my live times. I used to go live, I think at 9 p.m. Tuesdays and 10 a.m. Wednesdays, but I didn't like going to bed late and waking up early. The flip did happen. Now I'm doing mornings on Tuesdays and evenings on Wednesdays because apparently I learned from the error of my ways. Matt Zalewski wants to know if those cops in Toronto, what are those cops in Toronto a disgrace to the badge that were doing all the sketchy stuff? It's alleged that they're doing it. I don't know enough to be able to truly say they were or weren't, but obviously they've been charged with it. And yeah, it looks bad. It looks bad, and it looks bad for all who wear a badge because people judge us based on the actions of few, which is why all these people who are going, cops are dirty. Well, no, cops aren't dirty. There are cops who are dirty. Not all cops are dirty. The vast majority are good people who just want to help other people. People helping people. Ollie pushed my trolley. What's going on, Ollie? Been a while. What's the fastest speed you've ever while working? What's the fastest speed you've ever while working, and what was the punishment for it? I don't know what the fastest was. I mean, I've had lots of stunt drivers who were over 150 or over the 80. Over 50 over in we call it an 80 or 40 over in a speed that was under 80 because those are the two thresholds. But I don't recall the actual speeds. I've written a gazillion tickets. That might be an exaggeration, but I've written a lot of tickets, and I don't have a logbook of which was the fastest. If they qualified, they got a ticket, and it moved on. And it wasn't a scorekeeping exercise. It wasn't me trying to go, look, I got another one. It was just taking dangerous drivers off the road. Now, the consequences for stunt driving, which would be the most serious in terms of speed alone, it's $2,000 to $10,000. Now, I never really concerned myself for what the dollar amount was. I never tracked it. I frankly never really cared because at the end of the day, they got their roadside suspension, they got towed, and that's where it is. If all of them dealt with it in court and were never convicted, I don't care because that's up to the court. I mean, ultimately, I want people to be punished appropriately for their actions. However, it wasn't a personal mission to make sure they were convicted. I never tracked them to keep score. It wasn't personal. It was doing the appropriate thing at the time, which is writing a ticket for the offenses that were broken. Offenses that were, what is the word I'm looking for? Let's see here. I like the question though. Cash by accident. Why most constables not ask for insurance? That is interesting. I don't know that to be accurate. I would say that most, if not all, would ask for insurance. I've never had a stop. I've never conducted a stop where I went, hi, can I have your license? Don't show me your insurance, please. Because the standard request is license, ownership, and permit. License, ownership, insurance. Ownership is permit. So license, ownership, insurance. Those three things are what I want, because if you don't provide it to me, I am going to write you a ticket for failing to surrender it, right? You're required by law to surrender your license, $110 if you don't. your permit, your vehicle ownership document, $110 if you don't surrender it, $65 ticket for not surrendering your insurance. And if you don't actually have insurance, you're now in a situation where you're not driving away. You're getting a charge for drive no insurance, and you're walking. We're getting towed, or you're walking while your car gets towed because it's not going to be driven from the scene because it's not insured. Every vehicle in the province of Ontario must be insured to be on the road. So there you go. We have and O says, in Canada, if I get pulled over for speeding or just cause can they test you for weed for no reason? If you have okay, so if you have a driver's license condition that requires you to have zero drugs or alcohol in your system, then yes, they can pull you over and they can have you do a test for drugs and alcohol. If you have a zero condition, if you are being pulled over because there is belief that you're under the influence, which is not for no reason, that's very specifically because you're suspected of being impaired by drugs or alcohol, then they can do two things, or at least they can start with a few things. They can make you provide a roadside screening device test for alcohol. If they're convinced that you're impaired, well, really, if they think they have grounds for arrest for impaired, they shouldn't even do it in the box. They should just arrest you. But let's say you're arrested and you've read a breath demand to go back, or a drug demand because they don't smell alcohol, but you're acting wonky. They could arrest you by way of making a demand for a what's it called, a drug recognition expert. They would, at the station where the DRE is, have you perform a breath test, and then based on that being zero, they would continue with a DRE examination to determine by their expert if you have the effects of drugs, impairment by way of drug. I'm not a DRE, and my language of talking about their stuff is blah, 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 but it's still good stuff in terms of the fact that they're capable of determining whether or not someone is under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Yeah, that blah blah blah. Yeah, very technical, very technical. Tony Montana for me says, "Hey Sean, why did you decide to leave policing?" Very tough decision. A year and a half ago, roughly, is when I left, and the easiest way to describe it is family. My family was going through some stuff, and the most appropriate thing to do at the time was to focus on family. So that's what I did. And I don't regret it. I mean, I miss my friends and family, my blue family, but I don't regret the choice to leave. I did the right thing at the time, and now I still give back to the community doing what I do right now. So I have a lot of fun doing it. What is this? What do you think my insurance would be on my car that can transform into a 50-foot robot? I don't know if Optimus Prime needs insurance. Mind you, based on the level of destruction that in those movies, you would think they need a heck of a policy. High risk? Would they be part of a high risk program? Okay, we're gonna flag droner for a dad joke time. Any dad jokes, by all means, share them. I'll throw them into the closing notes of the show. And I have dad jokes from, I have to remember to play them. I have dad jokes from the one, the only Akela Draconis. Brandon says, my aunt was FDNY and her husband, my uncle, was NYPD. One thing both departments shared was they always seemed to love what I was cooking. For those who don't know, Brandon is a chef who makes magical things and likes cars. So I can totally understand how you cooking for them might have motivated them to love you. Okay. There are over 220,000 accountants in Canada, and one of them is me. Is really bad with the numbers. I just showed up the first day and sat at the desk. Oh, Nicholas, we got to talk. I gotta reach out to you about accounting stuff. Check out accountantinstitute.ca. That's my message to Nicholas Rizzi. Accountantinstitute.ca. Want your opinion? Okay. Nicholas Rizzi wants to be a fly on the wall that threat. I would love to be a fly on the wall that threatened to pull out their funding. for Doug Ford campaign just because their bratty kid got a speed camera ticket. So Doug became a okay. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Uh, I've already talked a lot about the cameras. I think that they were good, and I think that they should still be here. I think they should be reinstated. I think there was a big mistake to choose uh, whatever over holding people accountable. Captain Kurt is saying hello from Barbados again, heading back to reality tomorrow. Well, you're heading back. It looks like you're bringing or scheduling the good weather. It's supposed to get to up as high as 14 degrees this week, from what I'm told by a very, eager, uh, you know, child of mine who says it's going to be 14, and I'm like, okay. They're already trying to figure out if they can go in t-shirts to school. Okay, boss lady and boss man, what's the best study book for G1? The G1 handbook is the best study book. If you're looking for G1, it is 20 questions about signs and stuff and rules of the road as another 20. So 20 questions on signs and 20 questions on the rules of the road. If you're talking about an app, there's lots of apps that will help you. I have a project that I had hoped to rekindle and complete, which is reading the actual G1 book. It's available for free online, and I was reading it into my YouTube channel. But I have uh, been making attempts to get back into this chair to sit and read the book to the camera, and I haven't been able to do it. I had planned on putting a chapter out last week, and it didn't happen. So, fingers crossed for not this week, not next week because we're at the home show, but it's going to be the following week. Committed. Thank you, Deegan. The word committed was not paying. It was not committing an offense. That's the word I was looking for. Much appreciated, Dagan. It's Dagan? Dagan. Okay. Amy says, if I have an e-bike that's 500 watts and it goes 25 kilometers but looks like a moped, is that legal? The 32-kilometer rule is for e-bikes. So the maximum speed on a flat surface for an e-bike is 32 kilometers an hour under power, right? Where you're not pedaling. Maximum speed, 32 kilometers an hour. If it does 25 kilometers an hour and looks like an e-bike or a moped or whatever, it's perfectly legal, assuming it has pedals. So the requirements are 500 watts or no more than 500 watts, no more than 32 kilometers on a flat surface, then the pedals that actually function and drive the wheels. And that would require it for legal use without license or insurance. And Dagan says 32 kilometers an hour still has functioning pedals is legal. Thank you very much. You jumped in there, and you are correct. Now this is Amy. Amy jumped in and clarified. It has two modes. One is 50 kilometers an hour. One is 25. So the rules say capable. By you saying that there's a 50 kilometer an hour mode, that means it's capable of 50 kilometers an hour, which makes it illegal and making it a motorcycle. You're not allowed to have an off-road mode where you can go faster. It cannot be capable of going more than 32 kilometers an hour. And by virtue of your button that unlocks the 50K speed, it is not legal. Now, will you get a ticket for it? If it never goes over 25 or it never goes over 32, the likelihood of anyone ever knowing that it has a button that goes faster, well, you're probably okay. However, you get caught doing 50, you get caught doing 33 by an officer who's measured your speed, and you have just driven a motorcycle that is unsafe for the road, unregistered, and without insurance, meaning you're eligible for $5,000 to $25,000 in fines for the no insurance and a ton of other stuff for the failing to apply for insurance, having a license. And if I pulled you over, you get each and every one of those tickets because you have an unlicensed and uninsured motorcycle, which is what an e-bike is when it doesn't fall. So just to understand, it's not that you have an e-bike that's illegal. You have a motorcycle that has an exemption if it follows certain rules. If you don't follow those rules, it's not exempt. It's a motor vehicle again, and you get all the fun stuff. For instance, if you had an e-bike doing 50 in a 30 zone, you're doing 20 kilometers over the posted limit. But if it's a legal e-bike and you're going downhill or you're pedaling under power, you're not eligible for a ticket. But if you're a motorcycle, a motor vehicle, and you were riding under power at that speed, you're eligible for a speeding ticket. So it loses all the magical make-believe that makes it into a bicycle. And, okay, cameras should be back. Afif, I agree with you. And Dagan just getting into some details and absolutely correct. Okay. Captain Kirk. Next time we see each other at King of the North auctions about the driving in Barbados. Yes, we can certainly talk about that. King of the North auction. Shout out to them. I haven't been there in a while. I did a lot of traveling and I haven't gotten back into the auction mode, but I miss it. Okay. What's the time? An hour and 14 minutes. Holy moly, I've gone overtime. I see RT says, coming off the highway, I'm stopped at a signalized T intersection. There are 3 lanes. One goes left, the middle, and the farthest right. Are the right turn lanes only on a red light? Right on red works for both right lanes. So the center that's capable of going right, as well as a right turn only. You are legally permitted to make a right turn on a red if it's safe to do so if you go into the appropriate lane. That's the rules in Ontario. We got Connor M195 who says lane filtering at slow speed and stop traffic. Lane filtering, technically not legal. Can it be articulated and justified? And if the cop buys your story, could it be okay? It depends. So lane filtering, where you're going at low speed, I would say like walking speed between vehicles, I never really had an issue with it because you are just trying to get up into traffic to protect yourself from the next person who doesn't realize that traffic had stopped and was on their phone and crashes into you. Well, motorcycles don't make good bumpers. They make really terrible injuries. So in that particular situation, I would say rolling up a few car lengths to avoid becoming, the next crash victim is a reasonable way to do it. Now, if you're doing it to get right through traffic to the other side, you would be eligible for charges, in my opinion. Technically, you're eligible anyway, but you've lost the story when you're going through 20 cars to get to the front of the pack to zip up at the green. It's very different. Now, if you're traveling at speed, you're moving traffic and you're weaving through, that to me is not filtering. That is lane sharing. And it's also stunt driving. So generally speaking, careless driving, stunt driving, or even criminal dangerous driving charges could be legal or justified. I just read the word legal from Sam. What is legal per minute? I don't know what their comment means. Tegan says, could you legally do 50 on a sidewalk if this posted limit was 50 on the road, if e-bike limit was 50? Well, it's a sidewalk. It's not a road. And there's charges under both bylaw and I believe also HTA for driving unsafely on the sidewalk, or whether you're on rollerblades or a skateboard, you'd be eligible for charges there. So no, that would be careless driving, whether you're on a bicycle, e-bike, or otherwise on a sidewalk. It's for pedestrians. So no, you couldn't do 50. But I appreciate the random silly question. It's too funny. Okay. Storm Games and Vlogs with a good morning just before we say good night or good day. Good to see you. Now, Akela says, don't have a good day, have a great day. I almost really screwed that up. I kind of did. I want to just play Akela's jokes, and then I want to read the one that was sent to me because dad jokes are a thing. All right. Stand by. What's up? Where do we? No, it's not WhatsApp. He's not on WhatsApp. He's on Telegram. And where'd I put it? Here we go. Okay, this is dad jokes. I've not heard these.
Greetings and salutations. It's Tequila Draconis from sunny Madoc. Did everybody catch that lunar eclipse this morning? I didn't. I was busy doing other things. Anyway, today we have jokes, as we usually do. And today, they seem to be pretty bad. So let's just get this over with. What do you call a wolf reading a philosophy textbook? And a werewolf. Why do teenagers always travel in groups of 3, 5, or 7? Because they can't even. I don't get that one.
I got it, which is bad.
Why didn't the ghost want to take a bath? Because it would dampen his spirits.
That wasn't terrible.
What is a ghost's least favorite room? The living room. And for a quote, let's go with Charlie Chaplin. Nothing is permanent in this wicked world, not even our troubles.
That's not bad.
Well, that's it for today.
Listen, I appreciate good and bad dad jokes. And my buddy Ashley was going to send me dad jokes. He's got a really funny one. He calls me when he finds a good one. to tell my kids. He called, "Are you with the kids? Okay, I'm gonna put me on speakerphone. I got to tell them the dad jokes." So it's awesome. And of course, I forgot what they were, but they were good. So I had to ask him again what they were. Okay. RT comms, we answered that one. Okay. Sam, what do we got there? Kids, 4 kids in a Porsche. When a private company has someone in a vest directing traffic into or out of their event, do you have to listen to them? Are they flag people at that point? Do they have lawful authority? They're when you say into and out of their event, are they directing traffic on the road? They have no authority in most cases, unless they were flag people to direct traffic. Now, if it's on private property and they're security officers directing traffic in a parking lot, do they really have authority? Well, they can ask you to leave the property. What's the context? I'd love to know more. It's an interesting question because it's not something I've ever given any real thought to, other than you have the situation of flag persons directing traffic because they're working actively on road improvement. In most other cases, they have no authority. But if you were to ignore what they said and then crashed, that would be an issue. Or if they were controlling access to property by way of being security and you didn't take their direction, could it be under the Trespass to Property Act, a ticketable offense by a peace officer? Probably a stretch. But it's an interesting thing. But DM me. I gotta log off now. But I'd love to figure out the greater understanding of your question so we could dive into it. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow night. Sam says, also the cops never use turn signal park at illegal parking spots. Why? Oh, I can't help myself. I have to answer that. But let me figure out where Sam started here. Oh, shoot. What's that? Where do we go here? Andy says, if an alien invasion occurs, do I still got to pay my parking tickets? That may not have been a joke. It may have been a question. And who knows what's going on? I'm waiting for the United States president, is that POTUS, to release all that Area 51 stuff. It looks interesting. He said he was going to do it. Is he going to do it? Why do cars almost run me over when crossing? So Sam's a pedestrian crossing the street. Why do they always almost run me over? Maybe you're not crossing where you're supposed to be crossing. Where are you? Where are you crossing? I need to know more. I can't answer you. Deegan says you should do a podcast. I do have a podcast. It's called Traffic Jam, and really, I reproduce or I upload every one of these episodes eventually to podcasting platforms so they can be listened to by those who can't keep up with the live stream. Additionally, I do a podcast called the Traffic Jam, and I interview people. I did one recently about tirechange.org. They're talking about changing the naming convention for different types of tires to better represent what they mean, because all seasons, all weathers, summers, and whatnot don't really mean what you think they mean. And that's really confusing for people who drive with all seasons, and they're not winter rated. They're not good for the winter. People think they got this great magical tire that does everything well, and it doesn't. So we did a podcast about that. I've got a podcast coming up talking about the York Region Road Watch, Community Road Watch program, which I think is awesome. We're going to do something about that. But if you got ideas for a podcast, let me know. That's just the difference between the podcast versus the live stream is that the podcast doesn't have people live questioning and talking. It's just the person I'm talking to, which I'd love to do more of. I used to have a podcast episode on a regular basis, and I think I did one last year, maybe two, but didn't air the second one. Okay. Scrolling. Oh, Dagan says to Sam, terrible and inattentive drivers is the answer. You should definitely report those drivers. If you're almost getting run over, it may be the drivers or maybe a combination. But Sam is nervous when crossing. And Andy says it's mostly bad drivers mixed in with pedestrians failing to obey their signals. It can sometimes be a situation like that. But then Sam says also the cops never use their turn signals. They park illegally in illegal parking spots. Why? Well, signals, they have no excuse. They have to use their signals. If they're not using their signals, they're being lazy, and they can be liable for that. In terms of illegal parking, well, if they're going to a priority call, they'll park wherever they have to get to that call urgently. Even if they're going to get a coffee, could I articulate and justify why they're parking illegally? Yes, I can. Because if you want your cops parking 3 blocks away from the coffee shop when they go to get a coffee, when that emergency call to help your family comes in, they have to go and walk those blocks to their legal parking spot, doesn't work. It adds seconds, if not minutes, when seconds count. So it's a big problem. So police can ignore a lot of those rules to do simple things like use the bathroom and grab like life sustaining water if they didn't bring out. Maybe they ran out of water. They need to go grab something. Or now, if they're going to go have a sit down lunch, not appropriate, not at all. But if they're going to be running in grabbing something, I think it's totally justified. Dagan wants to know what time I'm usually live. Tuesdays at 10 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 p.m. has been my for the last year, I think, my schedule. I used to do this Monday to Friday, 10 a.m., and it's unsustainable as a person who does other things beyond talking on the internet. Sam says Toronto. Okay. What do we got here? Boom, boom, boom. I'm just wrapping up to see what's going on here. E-Town Cotty wants to know why do cops think they are superior to citizens? I don't think they do. I think that you may have a perspective that makes you think that, or maybe you don't like the fact that they have arrest authority and can mess with your day because they have authority. They're not civilians. They're sworn from the day they're sworn until they quit or retire. And but they're just normal people. I'm a former police officer. I'm the same as you. Maybe I'm taller. I don't know. Dagan says, all seasons are junk. As a mechanic, don't waste your money. Agreed. All seasons are not what you should be getting. Unless you switch to actual winters in the winter. Kevin Roberts wants to know how my retirement is. It's busy, man, because I'm not really retired. I'm just I'm retired from policing, but I'm busy doing other stuff. Thanks for checking in. John says, what does Toronto police do for people who don't stop at crosswalks? This is an issue in Toronto. They get charged. If they're witnessed, they get charged. And they should. I have actually, I love it. I charged a guy who pulled out and passed someone who was stopped for a crosswalk, and they ran through the crosswalk. I had fun writing that one. John says the drivers creep forward when you cross in Toronto. They cannot enter the crosswalk, and they do. And I just put I have to still put the complaint in. I have to put a complaint in on a driver who, while there was a crossing guard standing in the middle of the road, this driver decided to pull through and tried to make a right turn. Not allowed to enter the crosswalk while when someone's in it. But even if they passed your half of the road, if there's a crossing guard present, you cannot. Normando's spreading baloney about Freeman of the Land. We'll skip that. But hey, Normando, that drops a lot of comments in my stuff. So don't mind the algorithm love, but yeah, I'm not buying into the Freeman of the Land stuff. But people still crossing when it tells them. Oh, Andy says, but people keep crossing when it tells them not to. If you're not paying attention to the hand means stop. It's actually the hand when it's flashing is to tell people already in the intersection. We're talking about when it's flashing and it has a countdown. That is to tell people already crossing how much time they have left. It's not allowing people to enter the road and continue. Miriam wants to know if I'm related to Ben. No, I'm 6'5". He's 5'5". Maybe. I don't know. He's short. I'm tall. He's got a high voice. I got a low one. He's got hair. I don't. It's kind of the way I sum it up. All right. With that, I am going to say goodbye because I have a ton of stuff to do, and I'm not getting any of it done right now. But I do appreciate you. Thanks for dropping in, spending time with me on the live. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. That's Wednesday night, 9 p.m. to talk about stuff and things for another hour, and in this case, an hour and nearly a half. Oh, cool. Brandon says he's going to be a guest on the podcast. We're going to talk about cars and cooking. I like it. Very good. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon. Storm Games and Vlogs adopted a pet termite and named it Clint Eastwood. I don't get it. But I appreciate you. Have a good one. Gotta finish this coffee. It's half a Hello Kitty. It's also cold. Ugh. Maybe I'll make a fresh one. Thank you all those who threw gifts in. Got 100 coins in this show. 103 coins. I appreciate you. 29 new followers. 41 cents in contributions to the Canadian Organization for Better Traffic Safety and Education. Always appreciate it. Have a great one. Oh, yeah, and drive sober. Drive lawfully.